This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
I think that parents spend the whole of their teenage years trying to convince kids to think like adults, and that is never going to happen. And it's a waste of energy, it's a waste of good fighting time. Fight about things that are important, but you're never going to get kids to think like mini adults. They're teenagers, and in a lot of ways we need to respect this season of their life and enjoy it as much as we can.
Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'm your host, Maritza Barone. Get ready to hear moments that will help you to see the world differently and inspire you to become the happiest, healthiest and kindest version of you. Hello, welcome back to the show. Now in this episode we are in for a treat, especially if you are interested in what it takes to raise teenagers well. Because raising teenagers can feel like riding a roller coaster. It's full of love, turbulence and confusion. And as parents and carers, we want to stay connected to our kids like we were when they were little. We want to teach them the way of the world and support them as they grow into thriving, independent adults. But sometimes it feels like we're literally speaking different languages. In this episode of the show, I invited one of Australia's most trusted parenting experts, Michelle Mitchell, to decode the teenage brain and get real answers to the questions so many parents are asking right now. From emotional changes to boundaries, relationships, mental health, and the tricky balance between connection and independence, this episode is here to help you better understand your teen and feel more in control as you ride through this important chapter of your kids' lives. For this particular episode, we invited your listener questions to be sent in. So you'll hear different situations families are experiencing, and hopefully you'll be able to take something away for yourself too. We'll also hear from a couple of teenagers themselves, which I think really helps to see the other perspective. This conversation is one that has already, truly, really given me practical takeaways for my family and has even opened up new conversations that we needed to have in our house. So if you're curious about what it takes to raise teenagers, this conversation is for you. Now, for those who like watching instead of listening, all of our episodes are also available on YouTube. You can subscribe to the show, please do, via our podcast channels or YouTube station. Let's go. Welcome, Michelle Mitchell, to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast again. You're back.
I'm back, and that's a thrill because we had such a great chat last time, Maritza.
We did have a great chat. I just told you off air, and I'm now telling everyone else, that episode with you that we did probably over a year ago now, I'm thinking, is one of my most downloaded episodes so far on the podcast, and it just speaks volumes to how much parents need assistance as their children evolve into different age brackets. So, right?
So we're stretching as they stretch.
Yeah,
we're growing with them.
Already wisdom. But today we're specifically here to talk about the teenage years.
Yes.
I know. And I've got a 13 and a 15, nearly 14 and 16-year-olds. So tell me what teenager is. What's the age of a teenager? So it's from 13 to...
Let's talk high schoolers. Is that a good thing? Because, a lot of kids go to high school when they're 12, but let's face it, the moment they put foot through the high school doors, they're exposed to a completely different world. So I think, like 12, 13 up, most parents feel like they've got a teenager on their hands.
Okay, I like that because, we're adults according to the government when we turn 18. And I was Googling that the other day with my daughter. She's like, when am I officially an adult? Like when you turn 18, not 17 when you start driving here in Queensland. Yeah. But it's interesting. So tell me about the teenage brain, because we're going to kick off soon with listener questions that have been sent in. But before we do, I want to understand a little bit about what goes on in the minds of teenagers, because there's a massive shift, right, from primary school years to high school years.
And I think that parents spend the whole of their teenage years trying to convince kids to think like adults, and that is never going to happen. And it's a waste of energy, it's a waste of good fighting time. Fight about things that are important, but you're never going to get kids to think like mini adults. they're teenagers, and in a lot of ways we need to respect this season of their life and enjoy it as much as we can. Their brains develop from the back to the front. So their prefrontal cortex, their logical thinking, their impulse control, all of those higher level thought processes are the very last thing to come online. So they're high on emotion, low on logic, but they also have two developmental drivers, and it's not their fault, Maritza, okay?
I've already had a things you can't hear moment. Don't expect them to think like adults.
No. And they're not mini adults. They're
like
teenagers.
Adults.
There's a difference between a mini adult and a teenager. They're not. They're in a completely unique stage of their lives, okay? So we can't just put that lens on them. And a lot of parents get disappointed about that. They go, but I've invested and I'm expecting a return on my investment. I'm now expecting my kids to level up, to step up, to start to look like mini adults. Forget it, parents. You're going to get a regression in behaviour, and this is to do with brain development. So I say to dads particularly, it's not like a bank account where you've sent them to a good school, you've taught them their manners, you've done all these things in primary school, and all of a sudden you're going to get like a return on investment. It's going to look like a volatile month on the stock market. And that is because there is so much individualization going on when it comes to their brain development. Their brain is trying to prune back everything that it doesn't need to become an individual person. They're answering two questions. Where do I belong in this world, and where do I fit outside of my home? So their peers become so important. The second thing is, how am I going to survive without my parents? So you now don't have front seats to their life and everything going on in their life. You now sort of have to take a back row seat while they unpack and are driven by those questions. And it's not their fault.
No, it's not.
No.
It isn't. It's funny, we were driving I was dropping them off at school, my children, this morning. We were listening to you because I said, we're going to listen to Michelle because she's coming onto the podcast today. Yeah. And I said, you know what, guys? Tick, I did the we completed the baby stage. We completed the toddler stage. We completed the tween stage. I said, this is our next challenge. We're going to work it out together because we've had, it's not always harmonious in our house at the moment.
And nor should it be. Yeah. It's a different mountain climb. And if you get really sort of pragmatic and philosophical with kids about it, and I sat with a teenager the other day and I said to her, honey, your job is to be in the moment, to be impulsive, to love your peers. And I'm going to cast no judgment on you about that. In fact, I want to get with you on it and I want to enjoy it with you. And so does your mum. But see that mum over there? She's got to think about your life in a week's time, 6 months' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time. And we're going to cast no judgment on your mum about her role and her having to be your mum. So we've got to carry dual respect here. She's got to be your mum, and that's a hard job for you at the moment, for her at the moment, with you having to sit in your role with being a teenager, and we're going to love each other.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much in this. I could just talk straight to you. I'm not going to be selfish today. I'm going to do the listener questions again because we have actually been sent in some incredible questions that really helps a diverse group of parents, I think, with different ages, different genders and different issues that people are experiencing. Are you ready to jump in?
I so am. I ran a psychology clinic and I got to see families one-on-one for many, many years. Yeah. And I was able to relinquish my dependency on generalizations and really get to the nitty-gritty particularities. When I get questions like this, I can't. So I can't get this feedback from parents, them nodding at me or going, Michelle, that's not my kid. So just letting anyone know out there that going, that's not my kid, there are things that I'm going to say that won't apply, and I'm trusting people to filter it through their own gut feelings and knowledge about their kids.
Yeah, that's actually a really great disclaimer, I think, and important because you don't know the whole situation. We're given a little bit of information with these questions, but there's not a whole lot.
Sometimes I'm like, tell me more. I want to know this. I want to know that.
Yeah. And, I have said to our listeners that these questions are anonymous. It's hard. Sometimes you don't want to ask these questions if it's not anonymous because it's a personal family sort of situation. Totally. But here we go. All right, we're going to go with listener question number 1.
As much as I try to keep the communication with my kids, I have frequently declined invitations to spend time together. It feels like they're slipping away. How can I get them? How can I get them to hang out with me? Brackets, happily.
Love this. Okay. There is a pulling away that needs to happen. Think about it like a rubber band, all right? The rubber band needs to be stretching in their direction. So they need to be stretching away from us, and we need to be holding the weight of the tension of feeling the pain and the grief and the loss, and it's real, of them pulling away. All right? And so that is a weight that we carry as parents, that grief. Now, that needy energy, it is so important that we name it, we own it, and we claim it just like that mum is. And I have found myself as a mum hovering around my kids for no good reason at all, just because I miss them and I miss them needing me in the way they needed me when they were 2 years younger. And they're like, "What do you want, mum?" And I'm like, "Nothing, I just want to know about your day." And I've got to go, okay, this is needy energy, not mama energy, and they don't need me in the same way as I need them now. And I need to go and get a life.
We need to play hard to get.
And that's about my next point. If you back off for 2 or 3 days and give them a chance to miss you, it is going to just rebalance that tension. But if we're constantly chasing them, we're up their backside. So think about it like when someone's driving right up your rear end. It gets annoying.
It's like the dating game, isn't it? If someone's like just constantly chasing you, you're just like, back off.
A little bit.
All right, I've taken that, and I actually put that into play for the last couple of days.
Okay.
And last night my eldest came and she literally hugged me on the couch. I'm like, okay, my cup is full for a whole month right now.
And fill your cup somewhere else. So
Yeah.
claim the energy
Yeah.
and go, okay, there's a hole in my heart right now.
Yeah.
Where can I fill it?
Yeah, I love that. Excellent answer.
Okay, tip.
All right, listener question. I am scared to say no to my teenager as it ends up in them being upset with me.
Okay.
What do I do?
Okay, you got to own how you feel about that, because on the road to them becoming adults, because their brain is not fully developed, they need us to say no. And part of us loving them is making sure that we have those guardrails in place. And because their limbic system and their emotional system is so activated 3 times more than any other time in their life, they are going to have big reactions. So before we say no to a teenager, this is what we need to do, is be one step ahead. And we need to say, I am anticipating you being really upset with me. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if you stomped around this house for 3 days and actually was really mad with me. So you anticipate it, put it on your shoulders and say, I'm expecting to actually catch the fall on this one, but I'm still going to say no.
Brilliant. I like that. It's already answering how they're going to feel, and it's valid, right?
Walk ahead of them.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
let them do
Yep.
it, because they're not adults, they're teenagers.
Yes.
There's obviously, like, you've got to put some scope around that so they're not hurting themselves, other people, or the environment, and that's not okay.
Exactly. All right. Listener question number 3. My husband, who she's already laughing, who is my daughter's stepdad, is a lot stricter than me.
Yeah.
How do we manage different parenting styles now that they are teenagers and in this situation?
This is so good. Okay, let me go personal for a minute. My husband comes from North Queensland. In North Queensland, when you see an emotion, it's like, Houston, we have an emotion. We need backup. Let's squat this thing to death before it moves. You know, I come from a Mediterranean family. If you don't have emotion, there's something wrong with you. And if you don't have big emotions, you're not heard, you're not seen. And it's like a hurricane that rips through the house and everyone accepts it as normal. So when 2 people come together, to think that they are going to have the same parenting styles or the same views on things is something that we need to actually really smash that idea. It's not realistic. So this mum who's saying, my husband thinks different at me, I want to normalize that for her. Every single couple is going through this. So what do? You get yourself in your bedroom. You process your emotions away from your kid. You shut that damn door, and probably the first thing you do is have some pretty sensible disagreements. And conflict doesn't have to be something that we avoid. We go, okay, we've got some conflicting ideas here, but we are both motivated by the same thing, and it's love for our kids. And I have found that unless two people have got some very extreme ideas, so I'm going on generalizations here, the balance is normally what's best for the kid. And we've got to get to the bottom of why we believe so strongly that our ideas are right. And we've got to make time for this in our schedules, Maritza. It takes time to thrash out why we think what we think. Do we have time for an example from my home?
Yes,
do we
go.
need to move on?
Absolutely.
Video gaming and our kids.
Yep.
My husband had a very strong view that our boys would not play video games that involve shooting anybody. I felt like our kids needed to be on the video games that their mates were on because it was good for their social life. We ended up going with our boys could have sports video games but not shooting video games. It's turned out okay, so we were right.
I love the
Do you know?
we. Yes.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and you're right. Parents have different parenting styles. My parents had completely different parenting styles. We got away with murder with mum, and we got away with nothing with my dad. In fact, I swore in front of my mum, and I'm 45 years old now, and I still don't swear in front of my dad. Yeah. So you just get away with certain things. And I don't think that was a bad thing either. And
my kids come to me for different things than they go to their dad. And I actually think there's a strength in that.
Yeah. Yeah. There was that element of that question that talked about, I think, being the stepdad role. Yeah. Would you add anything to that question?
I would. There's a lot of families that do have like internal agreements if the biological mum or dad, exclusively parents their kids, and the stepdad has a slightly different role in that child's life, and that's something that they agree in internally. I think that sometimes that's actually a great way to go.
And it's still close that bedroom door and have the conversation without them and get on the same page.
That's right.
Yep. All right. Listener question number 4. My teenager doesn't talk to me about anything going on in her life. How do I keep the lines of communication open?
Okay. It's normal for kids to need space. I think I'd be concerned if kids are completely disconnecting from you. When kids are like this, they can be very hot, cold. Want you 1 minute, they sort of want your proximity and that safety of you being around, but they don't want you too close because they want to be in control. They get very allergic to questions as well. So the more you ask, the more they're pushing you away.
Are you in my house at the moment?
That's right. There's 2 things I would suggest for this mum. I would get this mum to ask 2 questions. Is there anything I can do to support you? And the second question is there anything I can do that won't make this worse?
Great questions. Yeah.
And then let your child answer you. And it is really interesting for you to hear your child answer from their perspective.
Silence is when they speak. When I'm silent is when they speak. When I'm completely backed off, they'll come when they're ready to speak.
That is gold right there.
And even in the car, I think too, when we're driving, not face to face, I think that makes things, or going for a walk when I can get them to come for a walk with me. Yeah, that seems to make a difference too. Yeah.
And we don't realise there's a lot being said in the silence. And what's being said is, I trust you with your life. I trust that you know when to reach out for me when you need me. Our kids go from this dependent stage to an independent stage to interdependence. And interdependence is when they know how to, not feed themselves something other than V drinks and Mars bars, and they know when to reach out for the important things in life. And when we see them reach out for the important things but take care of their own basic needs, we're seeing these glimmers of maturity.
Yes.
And that's what the silence allows for. It's like they're processing. Do I talk to mum about that or not?
It's true. We shouldn't tell them what to think all the time, right?
Not all the time.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Question number 5. Listener question. It feels like my 15-year-old son changed overnight. It's like a light switched from child to man-child, and his interests and his moods changed completely. How do I catch up with the new him? Any advice on helping us both through this time?
I feel for this, Mum, because I hear this all the time. Hormones can hit heavy and hard. Our 14-year-old boys get about 800% more testosterone than any other time in their lives.
Wow.
And for some boys, it's almost double that. So you think about that. Okay?
That's why it can happen
It
in a
can
flick of a
there's
switch.
9 and 14, key times in kids' lives. Yeah.
And so dealing with that, I mean, you've already given quite a bit of advice around that, but I would love to know for this specific
This happened
question.
to my eldest boy. He grew a foot in under a year, and he went from size 8 men's shoes to size 12, pushing size 13 men's shoes. He was the grumpiest pain in the ass you would have ever lived with. But his recollection, which is in my book Tweens, he asked me to add it, was that he didn't know what happened to us, and he thought we had turned into monsters overnight. So we've got to remember to flip it. They didn't ask for this either. So as much as we're struggling with them changing overnight, the experience is often mutual. They're struggling with the change just as much as we're struggling with the change. And I think it's really a good idea to call it as, hey, this is happening quickly for you and for me. And I'm catching up with this, but you must be feeling this big time as well. So we're bringing empathy right into the center of it and almost catching the fall with them.
This is important stuff. Yeah. Parents need to know that. Sometimes you just need to step out of our own hectic homes sometimes to have the perception of what it feels like for the child, for the teenager.
If we really want to be helpful with our kids, we've got to be prepared to step into their shoes and their world and see things from their perspective. Yeah. And, you know, when it comes to this whole puberty, they're changing physically, emotionally, cognitively, sexually and socially all at once in a life-altering way. And if we were to see life through their lens for a minute, it would freak us out because it's a blur for us. 14, yeah. It's a blur because it is just so life-altering that we only have these memory-altering sort of moments. And it is a memory-making time, whereas it's a big blur, but we have these like almost forged memory-making times. And we don't remember everything, but we remember who stood with us through it. And that's what we want our kids to get.
Oh, beautiful. All right, listener question. Why do my teenage kids spend so much time locked away in their rooms? Do they hate us? Sometimes it really feels that way. I don't want to be needy, but I actually miss them. Why? And this mother goes on to say they hear physically but not emotionally.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I've had to say to mums is when kids say they hate you, what they're actually really trying to say is you're really annoying me right now. They don't literally mean I hate you, but we can take that so personally and it's really hard. Our kids' bedrooms are incredibly comfortable these days. I meet a lot of families whose kids' bedrooms have got, you know, a TV, kids are allowed technology in there. There's so much in those bedrooms. Why would they want to come out? So I say to parents, like, don't make their bedrooms so, you know, wonderful that there's nothing for them to come out to participate in and to enjoy. I actually had a conversation with 2 mums the other day and had exactly this conversation. I said, you need to up your fun game. You are boring. You know, like if their bedroom is the most fun place to be, that's what's going to happen. And it's not that they hate you. It's just right now their friends are more important. Friends are the highest priority. And you are probably really busy and preoccupied with adult things that do not fit their profile of what is a priority and fun in their life. And so again, it's stepping into their shoes. You know, what are we going to do tonight that is going to be equal to or replace the priorities that are going on in your room?
Brilliant advice. I am throwing a dance party in my kitchen tonight, so everyone comes and hangs out, or a big cook-up, or pizza making night, or
And it's so inconvenient. It's inconvenience over comfort. It's always taking our comfort away from us. I remember the night my son asked me to go for a walk at 11 o'clock at night, and we ended up jumping in the pool after that, and it was freezing cold. And it floated his boat, because teenage years are what? All about adventure. That's something you do with your mates. But his mates weren't around, and it was either him being in his room with his mates on gaming or whatever he was wanting to do, or, hey, Mum, do you feel like going for a walk? No, but I'll do it for you.
That's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. All right. Listener question. How do I deal with my 14-year-old daughter's entitlement in capital letters?
Okay. I've got some really blunt things to say about this. I don't think as parents sometimes we put ourselves enough in our relationships with our kids, and our whole kids' world is very comfortable, and we go to work and then we revolve our whole life around our kids, and we wonder why they're entitled. And it doesn't set them up for the best understanding of relationships. Relationships are a two-way street. So I say to this mum, try being 5 minutes late. Try and going out with a girls' night with your own friends once a week and having to say no to her because you've actually got a life. Try to put yourself in the relationship. Try to give her a budget and let her make decisions on where she spends it, instead of being a bottomless ATM and she's got no idea how much money she's even spending, and you're bitter about how much money she's spending.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have a life. It's true.
And it's got to be a shared mutual relationship.
Making your own school lunches. Yeah. Things like that. Yeah. Getting yourself back from work. Yeah, little things.
Little things.
I like it. Listener question. At what point or age should I let my child make their own rules around phone use? Because that damn phone, hey? We generally ask them to take their phones out from their bedrooms overnight and charge them in another room. But when should I let them start to make their own choices around this?
This is a really personal family decision, but there are so many safety-related issues when it comes to phones that I feel like this needs to be really extending way into close to their adult life. And when they're under our roof, we still kind of are ongoingly talking to them about this because there's so much at stake. And the moment even my 18-year-old kids have looked like they're wobbling, the first thing I'm talking to them about is phones, because everything that's toxic comes through those phones. Mm-hmm. When I work with families individually, I have 3 circles. Teenager decides, parents decide, we decide together. And I think parents need to get very clear with teenagers whose decision it is and why, and don't pretend it's anyone else's decision that it's not. There's a lot of excellent software you can use on phones these days that enable you to make it your decision, yet kids have freedom, like to communicate with their friends, and you be able to switch that access off at certain times at night.
Yeah, and I think boundaries around that are just healthy.
The guardrails.
Yeah. Agreed.
Nighttime comes, Maritza, limbic system's high or emotional brain's high. It's just not a risk I think parents should be prepared to take.
And to be honest, as adults, we should probably be putting our phones on charge in the bathroom as well.
Boom.
Listener question number 9. I'm worried my child is going through a really hard time mentally based on something I saw on her phone. Mm-hmm. I don't want to approach her about it directly. So how can I start the conversation without it going south?
Okay, I have so many questions I'd love to ask this mum. So this is one of these, I've got to give a generalised answer, but I'm loving this question. I've often said to parents, you know without knowing all the details. So you can trust a lot of your gut and put those guardrails in place based on what you already know. And when you have to increase guardrails, you also increase relationship. And when you increase relationship time and do it well, kids often feed you the information that you need just because you're a warm, loving presence there in their lives. So the information follows, if that makes sense. But if you have to deal with a situation that's a safety issue directly and quickly, which this mum may have to do, and I'm conscious of that, you go in quick without warning and give kids very little wiggle room. Okay? So you go into your kid's bedroom and say, honey, I've put your phone in the other room. I've seen something that really concerns me, and the reason I'm talking to you about this is because I'm worried about your safety. And that phone is going to stay in the other room until we resolve this. And she is going to boom at you. And that is okay. And that phone stays in the other room until the dust settles. You know, that glitter jar we talk about where it all goes crazy and the dust settles. And you go, and that is okay that you're upset. But what I saw there is a big enough deal that I'm not going to let this slide. And so you hold your presence and you be that big in charge energy that they need. And that is actually what we call those steady guardrails, and you hold it and you hold all their emotion for a minute and you go and you ring your mum or your auntie or your girlfriend and you process away from them. This kid's flying off their handle. I don't know what they're doing. And then you walk it through. Because sometimes, I mean, this mum could be talking about some really serious stuff here that she needs to face head on with her girl. And it's too important to not bring up, and you can't let it slide.
I hear you speak and you're soft and strong at the same time.
100%.
And I think getting what you're saying is that's what teenagers really need, both sides of that.
And the only reason I can be so soft and strong is because I've done it so many times, Maritza. I've sat with kids in a lot of trouble. I've sat with parents who are highly emotional. I've sat with kids, you know, like on the edge of juvie and the edge of getting expelled from schools, teaching them how to repair with heightened emotions. And I've been able to help them hold it and walk through it and get small wins. And it takes practice, but it's doable. And I know that when I'm talking to parents on this podcast, they're doing this maybe with a 13-year-old for the very first time. So I want them to catch my heart in it. It takes practice, but it's doable. It's really doable. And if kids are chucking, you know, the 13-year-old version of a tantrum, or they've got an 8-year-old, you know, giving you the raspberry is the same version as a teenager giving you the finger at 15. It's all the same.
Yeah.
But you just got to be really steady. And when you say no, you've got to explain to a teenager why. I love you. I'm not moving. This is deemed my decision because it's important enough for your safety long term.
Brilliant. Brilliant. All right. This one's interesting because not all teenagers go through this.
Talk to me.
But it is, how do I help my teenager express emotions safely? He's lost someone close to him recently.
Wow. And I've experienced this within our own family 3 times in the last 5 years. And I've seen our boys unpack this. Not close friends, friends of friends. It's real. There is a lot more kids going through this than we realise. And we need to open our homes, open our hearts, invite their friends over if we need to, and we need to be able to sit with them for as long as it takes to talk about what they need to talk about. And sometimes we're talking about what they're seeing online or what their friends have commented about it, the injustice that they feel like is happening in this area or this area of society. They've got big opinions from politics all the way through. And I think we need to, again, step into their world, and then we need to do the second thing is this. Is there anyone else outside of me that I can connect you to that would be helpful for you to talk to? Because we can never assume that they're going to tell us everything as their parents. We don't get front row seats anymore because they don't want to hurt us. And if they are thinking about something that they think might hurt us as parents, they might choose to withhold it, and they might tell a professional or a stranger over us, and we have to be okay with that.
As long as they're expressing what they feel, right?
And they're safe.
And they're safe.
Guardrails.
Listener question. My 15-year-old twins are going to a house party and they asked me to buy them alcohol to take with them. I said absolutely not, and it ended up as in a huge argument, apparently, as all their friends were taking drinks.
Yeah.
How should they approach this situation?
I hear a lot of parents say, well, when kids say all their friends aren't, it's not true, because I know there's a lot of parents that aren't, but maybe in their circle, maybe all their friends are. And when they say all their friends are, I think it would be really amiss of us as parents to say, well, no, not all parents are, and blah, 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 and argue with that. I never argue with a teenager. If they tell me all their friends are, I go, I believe you. But that doesn't mean that I'm comfortable with it. When I address this stuff with teenagers, I go completely health-based. The lens that kids understand is well-being and health. Paul Dillon has the most accurate, health-based, research-based stuff when it comes to drugs and alcohol education on the market. He has a podcast called The Real Deal on Drugs, and this is where I point all parents and teenagers to, because teenagers can directly access it and listen to it. And I say to teenagers, this is where I'm getting my information from. You can listen to it independently, but this is where I'm basing my decisions on. And this is a decision I believe I need to make for your health and your safety. There is no amount of alcohol that is safe for a teenage brain. That is my decision, full stop. I also believe this too, Maritza. When it comes to the legals on things, when are we going to back the legal system up? And where's the lines? If we can all do whatever we want, that actually really worries me when it comes to youth crime and all sorts of other issues. And if our kids don't see us backing up the laws and authority and education and teachers, where is it going to stop with us making like all our own decisions everywhere and safety issues? So I'm big on this, and not every family feels the same way, but I'd be like this mum. No, hell no.
Yeah, and explain why, and you've gone the extra step. Here's a resource to find out for yourself.
Go the extra step, or they'll make up the story for you, and that the additional story is it's because you're not fair, you're too strict, you don't care about my social life. And that's not the end of the story we want them to make up.
So I think it's important to also get a teenager's perspective. Yes. And 2 questions came through on this, which I was thrilled about. Okay, so these are specifically from teenagers. Listener question. I'm a teenage girl, almost 16 years old. My friends are allowed to do things like go to parties and stay out late and have way more freedom than I do. And it frustrates me as my parents are more strict than theirs. How can I talk to them so they understand my point of view?
Okay, I'd separate this for this teenager, and I'd go, I want to separate this. I want to separate your parents' understanding and you getting what you want.
That can almost be a full stop, can't it?
But we want to actually get her to tell us if she feels understood and go through the process with her parents to make sure she feels completely understood. And I also include in that something that I call a replacement strategy, because if kids really feel like you understood how important it was, they also need to see us backing up their social life in a way that's healthy and safe for them, and understanding they've got social needs that need to be met, but their parents can't meet them in the way that they're wanting them to be met, which means she's not getting what she wants in the way she wants it to be met. Does that make sense?
It does. So then helping her to understand that there can be a halfway point. We'll meet you halfway. How do we do that?
So I can't do this, but what can I do? So I can't say yes to you going to this party because I know there's drugs there, but what can I say yes to?
Powerful. Brilliant. All right, and another listener question. When I was younger, I'm now 21, I was 17 at the time, I was out with a mate and he drank too much and passed out. I freaked out because we were underage drinking and I didn't know if I should tell anyone or where to get help because I didn't want to get us in trouble. What do you think would have been the right thing to do?
Is this a young man?
Yeah, he's 21 and this happened when he was 17.
Can I just elevate the awareness, the empathy that I'm seeing from a young man here? young men get such a bad rap sometimes, but listen to that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's true.
Can we just elevate that? The moment our kids are going to parties and that they are on that edge where we know they could be mixing with situations that could need an ambulance, that they could need to get out of there fast, this is what I want parents to do. Make sure they have 5 adult or drivable phone contacts in their phone that they feel comfortable ringing, that says, things are not going well here, I need you to pick me up straight away. That there is going to be a shame-free, crash-free for their ego, way out, and there's not going to be 10 questions when they get in the car, and that you'll deal with the fallout when things settle. They need an Uber app on their phone with your credit card attached to it, that if for some reason their ego would not let them ring those 5 numbers, they would ring that Uber. The next thing they need to know is that the ambulance is there any time for them to call, and the ambulance operates differently than the police, and that they would not get into trouble. The ambulance is there to attend to them medically, full stop. And a lot of kids get a little bit of education about this at school, but not enough. So we need to educate them as parents. For me, my kids used all 3 of those things when they were in those years. Grade 12 is a big one.
Tools. We are equipping them with tools. I love that so much.
And can I just add, if this 21-year-old is still thinking about that, he needs to be able to sit down with an adult who will validate his sense of compassion for that situation, and also say that he did the best he knew how to do with the tools he had at the time. And I hope that nothing happened to his friend in that moment that was damaging for his friend long term, and get the chance to unpack that and make sure that he lays that to rest for himself.
Absolutely. They're the listener questions, but I did want to raise something that happened here up on the Sunshine Coast recently, and it was unfortunate incident where a 15 and a 17-year-old have been charged with the stabbing murder of a man outside the front of his home. Now, when we hear this, we think our kids would surely never do anything like that, or how do we protect our kids from being involved with the wrong crowd or making horrific decisions like this, or being risky, taking huge risks and breaking into a home and then maybe it going south. Yeah. Let's have a conversation around this event, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
The reason I'm emphasising that in-charge energy and those guardrails, and parents not being afraid to step up in their kids' world in quite a direct way, is I feel like it's something that we've really backed off from for a lot of years. And we've become a lot more permissive, I think. We've become busy with work. We've become let kids guide their own life a little bit more. And I think what's crept in is a generation of kids have gone, screw authority, I'll do what I want to do. They've also gone, what does anyone else know? We've got 1 billion experts online telling us what to do, and I can choose whatever I want to do with my life. And without trusting adults to guide our kids' lives, they're left with a roaring limbic system and peer influence. And the research is very clear that when our kids are with peers, they will make decisions that they will never make when adults are around their lives. The ratio of adults to kids needs to be there. The research tells us that us just knowing where our kids are and our kids knowing that we are dropping them off and picking them up even curbs risk-taking. So parents, my message, I guess, to you is know where your kids are, and even if it's just a little bit annoying to your kids, in the years to come, your kids are not going to see that as my parents were a pain in the butt. They're going to see my parents stepped up and did their job. And that was a season in my life where part of my parents' job was to be the guardrails.
I love that you can continuously talk about these guardrails, and there are ways that these guardrails can be implemented with tools and tools of our own. And I think you talked about, knowing where your kids are, And a lot of us now are using apps like Life 360. And so we do know where they are. So we're not constantly going, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Are you safe? Are you okay? Yeah. And we have an insight into where they are, which I think is truly helpful. So anyone listening who hasn't already implemented that, I feel like that is a brilliant aspect of a tool that we can bring in. Anything else that will help us tech-wise that you've seen? Apart from microchips.
Mums are constantly tracking their, particularly girls, I find, constantly tracking. I don't think anything beats communication, Maritza, and I know even though kids don't give you all the details, communication is not just words. It's your physical presence. And even if parents have to reduce the amount of hours they are working, there are parents that are making some big choices in the teenage years to be more accessible to their kids. And I just want to say, parents, I commend you. There's parents that are cutting down to part-time work because they're recognising in the teenage years their kids need them.
Yeah, my dad said to me when I had kids, make sure, he said, go to work when they're little, make sure you're home when they're teenagers, because that's when you need to be around the most.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And they know when you've got your eye on them. They know when, you read their mail, you scan them when they come through the door. Don't just smell them, but you've got them. And there's this knowing of your child that no one else has got a read on them. You've got X-ray vision of them that no one else does. Yeah. No one else can be who you are in their life. There is no one else that can replace you. You're utterly irreplaceable today and forever. There will not be a partner. There will not be their own child. There will not be a friend in their life. There will ever be a parent, a mum and dad in their life. You carry a space in your child's life and you'll never get a read on them like anyone else will.
It's funny, there's so many memes going around on the socials, and that mum that opens the bedroom door, looks around, scans the room, looks at the kid, looks around, shuts the door and walks off, and the kid's just like, oh God. It's like literally so real. Yeah. I love a lot of that. And because I was researching you and we were doing this, the algorithm got me. So I've got a lot of funny teenage memes that are popping up this week, which is great.
The funniest thing is our kids laugh about us behind our backs.
Correct.
But they laugh.
Yes, that's right.
And they go, that's called a mum.
To each other. It's gorgeous. I can't let you go without acknowledging that your son is here today. Hi, Matt. I hope you don't mind me mentioning you. Now, Matt's how old?
24.
24. Are you the oldest? Thumbs up, youngest of two sons. How beautiful that he's working with you.
I know. I love it. I actually feel really honoured and privileged that my son would want to work with me.
Yeah.
And I have two incredible sons. They're both equally as close to me. My eldest rings me maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and my phone calls finish between 54 minutes and 56 minutes.
That's so good.
We have big, hearty conversations. I talk to this one every day. And I just feel honoured to have the relationship I do with my kids. And it's not that we don't fight. Gosh, we have great fights. They're fantastic. But we do open communication really well, and I love them to bits.
So Matt, I know you don't have a mic, but you can do thumbs up and thumbs down, and I'll just let everyone know. Help us feel more human, because you've got this amazing parenting expert as a mum. Is she 100% of the time having all the right answers, or does she sometimes stumble like the rest of us? She's the best.
Oh, that is so rubbish. He says he's the best. He is not. That is, he is.
On a podcast.
He's on a podcast, Mum. They call this is the truth, Marit. Flawless. Oh, what a lot of rubbish.
And also, you're paying him, so
he's on paid time.
Yeah. Oh, we're not trusting you with that, Matt. I reckon Michelle too is human too, just like all of us. But you really do have a view on parenthood, and the lived experience through your kids and your clients that really helps us so much see things differently. Yeah. One last question, and it's based on the title of the show.
Yeah.
What's something that you once heard about parenthood that you couldn't unhear, that really made you see things a little differently?
Wow. Okay. boy, that's a good question. It's from a teenager.
Oh, wow.
A kid who didn't have parents that showed up for her. And she said, I wish I had a mum that would tell me I couldn't go to a party. And this kid was a kid who was getting relocated from her home about a week off from her 13th birthday by child safety.
Now I can't unhear that. Yeah, that's incredible.
It's
And
teenagers that have taught me the most, Maritza.
yeah, and as an ending, I think, and you said it so many times, is to listen as well. Like 2 ears, 1 mouth. Use them in balance sometimes, and listen, ask questions, so we can communicate in the best way possible.
They know they know when we're doing that. They know when we're showing up, and they know when we're trying. We don't have to get it right. He told me I was brilliant. I know I'm not. You know why I said that? Because I try. That's it.
Yeah. Michelle, Mitchell, and Matt, who's here today, her beautiful son. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm going to have you back again in 12 months. Just wait for my phone call.
I can't wait.
I think we should do a live show, because I think so many people out there would love to hear you in person and ask their own questions.
Sounds great, Maritza.
Thank you so much, Michelle Mitchell.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the show. What did you think? And what did you feel? Let us know by leaving me a message on the Things You Can't Unhear Instagram community page. And if you can, give us some ratings love on your favourite listening platform.